Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
So three big names I want to, enough of the Jimmy G stuff. We're going to go with three big names here. First, Marcus Peters. Since that you were away when the Raiders brought him in. So I want to get your thoughts about Marcus Peters. And at first, then we're going to go with Davante Adams' article, which was very long. And Tom Brady becoming a minority owner. So let's start off with Mr. Peters. Obviously, I don't think he's the best. I don't think he's the player he used to be. I do like his ability to get turnovers. He's good in that. He's good. I mean, he will do a little bit of Olay if you run the football his way, but I mean, that's not what he's there for. He's there to pick the ball off and bait quarterbacks, things like that. What would you think about this defense acquiring Marcus Peters?
I think they need Marcus Peters. They need another veteran in the
I think he knows that
on the outside.
I think he knows that too.
And to me, it was a get-to-know-you meeting. Obviously, he's familiar with the Raiders, having grown up in Oakland. Now they're in Vegas, but he's familiar with the organization and the mystique and everything that goes around it. It's probably more a money thing. He's probably looking for more money. And right now, there's really no reason for a veteran to sign and have to go to OTAs. They can just wait till training camp starts. So I think this is something that might happen closer to mid-July, July 20th, as you get to training camp. But he's going to get interceptions. He's going to take the football away, and that's something the Raiders desperately need. Now, having said that, he's going to jump double moves. He's going to bite on some stuff, and he's going to give up balls over the top for touchdowns, which is kind of what Diggs does over in Dallas. And Peters was kind of that player earlier in his career, and he's still a very good football player. But with him, you have to understand, for the interceptions, the pick sixes, he's going to give up touchdowns, but it's an okay trade because you're getting interceptions, and you could get the ball to your offense in key situations, whereas the Raiders just haven't had corners do that for a very, very long time. And they need another guy. They can't go into the season on the outside like week one and expect a rookie fourth rounder in Bennett, to expect Robertson or maybe Long, who started 4 games last year. Like, those guys can't line up opposite Nate Hobbs and expect to have a top 15, top 20 defense. They need veterans that can come in and play right away and hold up early on. And I think they're still short in the secondary. You can't rely on a ton of young kids to make a top 15 defense. You just can't do it.
They need that veteran basically they have like a young, experienced batting order, and they need a veteran to come in there and bat third. He's perfect for that role. And then he will give some big plays, but I mean, he has some timely, like, when the game on the line type interceptions and forced fumbles, which I really like about Marcus Peters. So that would be a great move if the Raiders could pick him up. And then you have the ties to Oakland and everything like that as well, which I'm sure fans will love. Davante Adams spoke to the Ringer, and they just wrote a whole bunch of words. I had to highlight the whole thing and have Siri read it to me. It was just too long. But and then he kind of retracted almost everything he said when he next day. But I mean, he's here. His contract is there. They're not moving him. I understand what he probably thought was going to happen. But I do give them credit for moving. They just said, whatever, Fresno State be damned, but like, we don't feel like Carr is going to be our answer here. So we gotta move on. And they moved on from Carr. They have Jimmy G now, and I think for it to be a different offense, it doesn't mean he won't get numbers. He might get numbers in different ways now. But Adams, as far as that article goes, what are your thoughts about what he said in that article?
Yeah, I think he voiced some frustration that we kind of talked about earlier in the show about what kind of offense they're going to run around Jimmy G, and it's not really the type of offense he's ever played in. You have to remember, Davante Adams played with Aaron Rodgers. That's the quarterback he's played with his entire career. And then he got Derek Carr, who was his college quarterback. He's never played outside of a system that didn't force feed him the ball. And the Raiders are still going to do that this year. It just might come on different kind of routes than he's used to running. He's going to have to be okay with more ball control, more running the football, more underneath routes, more working out of the slot at times. He's not going to get a ton of explosive down the field plays because that's not the strength of the quarterback on the roster. I think he's earned the right to say whatever he wants to say. He's a first ballot Hall of
Yes,
Famer.
no question.
He's allowed to be involved in these decisions. He should be able to voice his opinion to management, which it sounds like they're okay with. So I think it's a lot of nothing to see here. Like, I
Yeah.
know everyone wants to run with articles in the offseason about the dysfunctional Raiders, but I don't think that's the case here. And he even came out and said, I want to be a Raider. I want to be here. Until he says he doesn't, you have to take him at his word. So I think he's happy. Now, if they go into the season and it starts snowballing and the unfortunate happens where, like we talked about earlier, Jimmy G's not there and they're playing a rookie or Brian Hoyer and they don't have any other options and this team wins 2 or 3 games, he's probably going to say some different stuff next offseason.
Yes.
But right now they can't move him. It's a salary cap issue and he doesn't want to be moved. So I think, again, it's just, let's just get to training camp before we get all these drama stories every week about something somewhere.
Understand. Tom Brady takes on a role with the Raiders now. He's one of the minority owners. What is so people? I mean, some people hate it. Some people, I don't. To me, it doesn't really. It's not a relevant thing. I mean, do you know any of the minority owners for the Raiders besides Tom Brady? You don't, right? So why be any difference? I think the only thing that I would I'm not worried about, but like the only thing that I would say is that it's a lot of Patriots over here, and I get it, and I get that bothers some people. But if they win this year and they win in the future, they won't bother anybody that much anymore. Because when you have the Patriot guys over here and you're losing, then people get frustrated, even more so. But I wonder if it's more so of having a guy who's a knowledgeable football mind in the building with him to kind of just shoot stuff back and forth. I want because I think that's one thing that he kind of seems like he likes having like like a Woodson around, like it used to be a Marcel Reese, people like that around. I wonder if Tom Brady, who doesn't have like the experience of like running a team, or player acquisitions or whatever, but could be a voice for like, hey, maybe recruiting a player to come, or just having like dinner one night and say, hey, like, what do you think about what the job Josh and so and so is doing right now? Like, can I really trust them to do this and do that? Like things like that. I mean, that's what I would say. But what are your thoughts about Tom? I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I do think he'll have input and like kind of talk to Mark. And when Mark wants to talk about football, he'll definitely call Tom.
I'm 100% for it. I don't understand the people that are like, oh no, he's Tom Brady, he's a Patriot, it was a fumble, get him out of here. It's like, this is the best quarterback in the history of the National Football League that's walking around with more rings than anyone can count.
Yes.
Who's willing to give you money to be a part owner. Money's money. Mark Davis needs money wherever it comes from. He's getting money from casinos in Vegas, but it's money. He needs it for signing bonuses and to sign these big contracts. And then on top of it, like you said, it's the football side of it. Now he's not going to be in there making decisions, but he's going to be a senior advisor. I'm sure he's going to talk to Dave Ziegler. He's going to talk to Josh McDaniels. He's going to be very involved. And the first thing I thought of when this story broke was like, you have all these Raider fans who were like gung ho that Magic Johnson needed to be part of this ownership a couple years back, and Magic Johnson was going to buy in. And the Raiders need to go get Magic. Magic doesn't know anything about running a football team, but they were all about it because he's in LA and they were probably Laker fans growing up. But we can't have the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL be part of this ownership because he's a Patriot. Like, you can't have it both ways. If you want this team to win, the best thing they could have done is brought Tom Brady aboard. You get his money. You get to talk to the GOAT of quarterbacks, and he's up there with Montana or whoever, Elway, whoever you want to throw in that conversation, Peyton Manning. But there's no harm here. I don't understand how this can be a hindrance to the organization. Oh, and he's also a part owner of the Las Vegas Aces. And I mean, he grew up, got drafted to play Major League Baseball out of high school. He might be a part owner of the A's before this is all said and done. So like, he's obviously setting a foothold out west in Vegas. He brought, I believe TB12 is in Vegas too as well. There was something set up last year. He might be a part owner of Dana White and UFC or WWE or whatever Dana White purchased recently. But Tom Brady is going to be everywhere in Vegas. And it can only help the team to have him around. This team needs to win, so Tom Brady is going to help them win behind the scenes. Think of what he's going to do out in the business world and all the money he's going to bring in from sponsorships and all the different avenues that he can help this franchise. And again, I think it's 100% a win.
Hey, so here's my thing too, is like you're seeing, the Williams sisters, they took a stake of the Dolphins, right? I think LeBron James owns a little bit of stake of the Red Sox as well, like, and among other teams. Like you see
Patrick Mahomes owns part of the Royals.
Exactly. So like, and here's my question to you is like, and then into all Raider Nation, like if Tom Brady wants to call a business meeting, who's not taking that call? Like, who's not taking that WebEx? Who's not taking that face-to-face meeting? Who's not flying to Vegas to meet with Tom Brady, who's going to be representing the Raiders? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't or the Aces or whatever. Like, you have to take that call. Like, you can't not take that business call from Tom Brady. So I think that is, I think, for Raider fans, I mean, Magic is a little bit more likable for us than Tom Brady.
I mean, it sucks. I don't like the Patriots, but like,
it's a
win-win.
Yeah,
on the field business side and on the football side.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, and just seeing him with like that suit and tie or like just to see a Raider polo on Tom Brady is gonna be is a win for the Raiders. I don't think he's playing. So when you see Pro Football Talk put all that stuff out there, I mean, if you can just keep sliding by it, don't click on it because he's not playing for the Raiders. So I would not sweat that part of it at all. But I do like the move. I have no problem with the move whatsoever. I think it's funny to see people go back and forth with it, but I mean, it's a win. Like I said, like all these Raider fans who are saying that. So you get a FaceTime call from Tom Brady, and he says, "Oh, you know what? Can you meet me at Allegiant Field? I want to talk to a couple Raider fans. You're not going?
I'll be there.
You're not going. You're gonna go. You're gonna go. Come on, Raiders. Come on, Raiders.
Or the corporate sponsors when they're trying to bring new revenue streams in.
They have to.
There's
no side business, right? For Davis family, right? The Raiders are their side business. They don't have a business on the side. They bring in more money. They're not Walmart. They're not. They're not oil companies and stuff like that. They're just the Raiders from the time Al Davis owned it till now.
To change the subject on Tom Brady. So Tom Brady's not going to play quarterback for the Raiders, I don't think, this year.
I can't see it. I can't see it.
I do. If you ask me what I think the most likely outcome here is if Jimmy G doesn't pass his physical, I think there's going to be a phone call to New England to talk about Mac Jones and see what he's about. I would expect the Raiders. So the Raider fans that think that Jimmy G is a disaster, he's going to be gone, they're going to win 2 games, they're in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, which I would personally love. I think it's more likely that McDaniels tries to pry away Mac Jones and gives up draft picks for him than the Raiders are going to be in any sort of race to pick Caleb Williams next year. That's a pipe dream.
That would be, I mean, let me tell you something. So you just brought up a scenario that would be, that's like a knife in my back. Not because, I mean, even
what's more like, ask yourself what's more
because he knows if he wins 2, if he's in the Caleb Williams the collapse for Caleb, as I like to call it, if he's in that realm, and that means they have 2 wins, he won't
be employed next year.
He won't be employed making that pick. So I totally understand. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world, but like that would be brutal to trade any capital in a draft with that many quality arms. Like that would be tough. That'd be tough to swallow for Mac Jones. But that would be tough. But hey, we'll see. I mean, the Pats,
Jimmy G can't pass a physical.
Yeah,
let's just say he can't pass a physical.
Yeah.
You really think they're going to go into the season with Brian Hoyer and Aiden O'Connell? They will find a way to make a trade for a quarterback, whether we want to agree with it or not. They're not going to go into the season with those 2 guys.
Oh God, that'd be so brutal.
They're not
so brutal. That would be so brutal. Like, and what if Denver craps the bed this year and next year and has up with Drake May throwing bombs? Oh my God, that'd be a nightmare for the rookie quarterback.
Maybe they'll trade for Jared Stidham. Maybe Denver will give him back.
Oh my God, that'd be brutal. All right, let's go. One last thing before we go. Somebody asked us to kind of. They said they had this thing where they wanted to see if one of these 4 players would be breakout players for the Raiders. So the 4 players that that they sent in were Divine Diablo, Tyler Hall, who did get some compliments from Davante Adams, Isaiah Palomar, and then Dylan Parham. So I am seeing a lot of stuff from about Divine Diablo from the coaching staff and everything like that, and injuries, and then the injury stopped him from whatever. I'm not in love. This is, and I said this once 1,000 times, and I had a joke with it last week with Matt Holder, who was sitting in for you last week. This is the worst linebacking core, quite possibly the Raiders have had in my lifetime. It's bad. It's really bad. There's not a single team in the league who'd want any of these players. Like, right, they're not that good. They're not
Can't be
good.
worse than the year they ran Miles Burris out there the first year of Reggie McKenzie.
That could be Miles. Well, I don't know. Miles Burris might start on this team. But I mean, it's really bad. So I mean, if Diablo, this is the second year in a row I'm hearing about like they have their love for Diablo. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of him. But I know he does like these safeties turn linebacker kind of types, like the guy from Florida who they picked up as well. So we'll go one by one. What are your thoughts about Divine Diablo? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
I think he's going to start. Obviously, he needs to be healthy, but he's going to start across from Spillane. He's a better coverage linebacker than Spillane if they ask him to play man. If they want to play a lot of zone this year, then I think he's kind of a fish out of water defensively. He'll hold up against the run, but then he'll be an issue in pass coverage. I'm not going to call him a breakout player. The list you gave me, I would not pick him at the top of that list.
Yeah.
But I do like Devon Diablo for what he is. I just, at this point, based on what we saw last year, and I know it was his first year in a new system, the safety converting a linebacker who was supposed to have some coverage skills, it just didn't matriculate. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
So until he shows on tape that he can be a good coverage linebacker, I'm just going to have to assume he's not going to be.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I think also, look at the numbers. People were completing passes against these linebackers last year at a alarming rate. So we'll see if that happens. Tyler Hall, I'd be careful with guys like this because I've seen people get excited about guys like this and they end up in year 2 and then you're like, why is he getting beat so bad? Why is he missing tackles? I mean, maybe just maybe some players are not meant to play a whole lot of snaps, and with a small sample size that Hall has, I'd just be careful with that. But I mean, well, you can just hope for the best with a player like that.
We'll go bold prediction.
Yeah.
Tyler Hall's on the roster bubble, in my opinion, on May 29th. Yeah. And if they sign a veteran corner, there's a chance he doesn't even make the roster because then you have the flexibility to put Nate Hobbs back inside. Duke Shelley can go inside, and Meek Robertson, if he makes the team, can go inside. I don't think it's a slam dunk Tyler Hall's going to even be on this roster. And I like Tyler Hall as a player.
Yeah.
I'm just not convinced if they add depth to the secondary because they're probably only going to keep 5, maybe 6 of those guys.
Yep.
And you only need 2 of them basically to be able to play the nickel, and Hobbs will be one, and Shelley can do it. Like I said, Robertson can do it, and they could probably slide someone else inside if they needed to. So I like Tyler Hall. I'm not ready to say he's a breakout player.
Palomar now. I wish, can we put the Charger game in at Allegiant in a bottle for him? Like, can we just have him do those things? It seemed like he was just in the backfield all the time and making plays all over the place. I'm not sure what, I mean, he's going to be just like a strong safety probably, and play up against the line of scrimmage. I'm thinking I didn't see him really much in pass coverage.
So out of the group that you gave me, I'm not going to count Parham because he started last year.
Yeah.
I think the guy that's going to surprise the most is going to be Palomar based on the role they're going to give him, which to me, I think he's going to play in the dime a lot as a third safety that can basically be a dime linebacker that he's going to be able to cover. Because right now you have Spillane and you have Diablo, that neither one of those guys is a very good coverage player.
Mm-hmm.
But you have length with Palomar. Now, Palomar's not going to be an every down player. He's not going to be in base defense. He's going to be a sub-package player, but as a special teams player and a guy who can come in with length that has the ability to play man up against some tight ends and cover some backs out of the backfield. And he can blitz and you can kind of move this guy around within the defense. I think he's going to have a role this year, and I think he's going to surprise in some packages that they use him in. And they used him more towards the end of last year, and he made some plays.
Yeah.
I do like him. I think he is going to make this roster, and I think he is going to be the third safety. So we'll see. I do like Palomau. His prognosis is trending up, in my opinion, as we head to 2023.
Cool. So that's your guy. That's your guy.
Based on those guys you gave me, yeah.
Yeah, basically of those guys. I mean, I think Parham is going to be, it's what I mean. Like, obviously, I mean, and James has done enough to kind of ward off being moved, because I think when Parham got drafted, we thought this time right now he'd be potentially the starting center for the Raiders, but looks like they're going to keep him at guard, and we'll just take it from there. All right. Anything? I know you have not been with us for a while, but before we go, did you have any Raider thoughts before you hop on that?
I'll add another one to the mix here. My breakout player as of today is Trayvon Merrick. I thought Trayvon Merrick played really well down the stretch last year after Jonathan Abram was let go.
Mm-hmm.
He played really well in man coverage, outside of the game against Travis Kelce in the red zone early in the season, but they moved him around a lot.
Yeah.
And I think he has that flexibility to move around, play in the slot. He can play man coverage and tight ends. He can cover running backs. He can blitz. He can play in the deep middle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's his time. So year 3 is the Trayvon Merrick breakout season. Now that you have a competent safety and Epps next to him, a guy that can be a force in the run game, and you're not asking Merrick to come down and be a tackler in the front 7 is that 8th guy in the box, and you can just have him play center field, and then you can move him around on third down and do a lot of different things with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's Trayvon Merrick's season, in my opinion. I do expect a breakout season from him.
No, I'm gonna say no. Where Jimmy G, I mean, like, obviously you bring up the focus on the agent's comfortability with that kind of makes a lot of sense as well.
If Jimmy G doesn't make money, the agent doesn't make money.
Yeah,
and there's no agent on the planet Earth that's going to let him sign that contract if there's any chance that he's not going to be able to pass physical.
That one, and then also, do you have any worries about number 8 for the Raiders now? Number 8 for the Raiders, coming back. Obviously, he can't. Sitting out is just not a financial exercise that these players are going to want to do. They lose too much money. You think he's coming back on a franchise tag, or do you think Jacobs is going to be a guy who is going to get that 3 or 4 year deal? Maybe he's looking for a little bit more money than what the Giants offered Saquon Barkley.
I think they're going to meet somewhere in the middle as you get close to training camp. I do expect him to play.
Oh yeah,
it might be on the franchise tag, but I think there's a common ground here. And Jacobs knows he's going to be the focal point of this offense. And now he's got that big tight end to help block and Mayer. He knows they're going to build this thing around him. I do expect him back on this offense. And I would say it's probably, and I've always said this, somewhere in the Nick Chubb deal range. I'd say 3 years, somewhere in the mid 30s, $34, $36 million, something that's going to average around 12. That's going to pay him $2 million more than he's making on the franchise tag, but shorter term deal that the Raiders can get out of if there's some injuries, there's some wear and tear on a running back, which we know is going to happen in the National Football League. But yeah, I'd say the sweet spot's like 3 and 36, somewhere in there.
Okay, cool. All right, Raider Nation, take care. Relax. It's May.
Wait till we get to the prediction show towards the end of training camp. There might be some fireworks.
That was crazy. Ryan, always good to have you back, man. Good to have you back. We'll see you next time. Be safe.
All
travels.
Right, take care.
Safe travels.
All right.